Well, welcome to our live stream today. It's so nice to see you here for those ones who can watch it live, and for those ones who are going to watch it later. We look forward to seeing what you think, and you let us know in the comments with regards to some of the things that you've found helpful. Well, today we're going to be looking at steps to help us, which are essential to get inner peace and true happiness, freedom, and things like that, which many struggle with because of the J-dub indoctrination, the high control nature of the group. Well, today we have a very wonderful guest who's going to help us to look at some of those things. And let's bring our guest on. And good morning, Vivian.
Hey,
How are you today?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you, Shane. How are you?
That is, yeah, I'm pretty good.
Awesome.
What's the weather like over there in Sweden?
At the very moment, it is a little past 7 p.m. and it's gray. It was really sunny about an hour ago. The weather is just kind of hit or miss, but I'll
Yeah.
take it. It's
No,
great.
that's good.
Summer has been wonderful here, so yeah, no
Fair
complaints.
enough. I can't tell you what our weather's going to do. I will in about an hour's time, though. Alrighty. So, this subject with regards to taking steps to loving ourselves and getting inner peace, there's so much to it, isn't there?
Absolutely. So many layers that people don't really realize, and they just want to come to this conclusion that I love myself and that I'm in a good place, but it's so deep and it goes as far back as literally just going back from when you were born and understanding the patterns that have been
Mm,
created
mm,
in your life to really understand why you haven't been able to have the inner peace and the self-love that you deserve. And self-love comes with so many other things, so many other rewards as well. And that includes having the relationships that we deserve and that we long for. People are just attracting the wrong kind of people, and it goes all the way back to loving yourself and creating the inner peace. And the reason why we're not attracting those kind of people is because we're
mm.
holding on to resentment, we're holding on to anger, we're holding on to things that we really need to let go. And until we can let go and free ourselves and create the inner peace and create more of
Yep.
an abundance in our life, and that's when we can create those energy flows.
So, are you saying that we're able to do all those sorts of things?
Absolutely. It just takes work. It takes time and it takes work. Absolutely.
Yeah. Out of all the different steps that you know of, what would be one of the hardest ones for us who have come from the high control group of Jehovah's Witnesses to get our heads around?
Forgiveness. I think forgiveness
Mm,
is not only just in the ex Jehovah's Witness group, but globally, people are holding on to so much resentment, whether it's from resentment from a colleague, a friend, a past lover, a parent. Maybe you have been abused by a parent physically, emotionally, sexually. There's so many layers of forgiveness. And then with the ex Jehovah's Witnesses, oh, I was lied to my whole life, and how can I forgive a cult that I've been lied to my whole life? Now I've spent like 50 years of my life in the religion and I've been brainwashed and they've been lied
yeah.
to. How can I forgive? It's like
Yep.
this layers upon layers. And granted, you can have all the reasons in the world to hold on to something, but if you really want to move on and do better in your life and just really allow better things to come to you, holding on to resentment and anger is not going to serve you in the sense that you really you can't move forward in your life if you're holding on to this.
Yeah. 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 I just noticed you put up a post, say, with regards to forgiveness, and many go, how can I do that? So let's have a look at it. What would be the first step that we could take? I know there could be a number of different first steps. Which one would you recommend from your experience as a life coach and other
Mm.
things that you do that has proved to be helpful for such ones that have come out of any one of the situations you mentioned before?
Well, in all honesty, think that a lot of people like the idea of forgiving and forgiveness, but they actually do not want to forgive. So they feel very like I have a reason to hold
Mm,
on to this resentment, this anger, because I have been hurt and I want to remain a victim. And it's a lot easier to remain a victim than it is to actually liberate yourself and to free. So the first thing I always ask somebody is, when I figure out what it is that, or who they haven't forgiven, like I said, it could be a cult that they belong to, a high controlled religion like we were. It could be an ex-husband, an ex-wife, they cheated on them, or they abused them, or it could be a parent. They also, they didn't love me the way I deserve to be loved, or they beat the shit out of me, or they sexually molested me, or they raped me, and
Yeah.
I'm still holding on to something. And so again, the first thing is I always ask, once I find out the base of the thing that they're holding on to, do you want to forgive this person? Are you ready to forgive this person? And they can say, no, I'm not ready to forgive this person. I just want to forget about everything and I just want to tuck it away. Or I want to remember this because it feels me,
Yeah.
fuels me. So there's like two different things. And I would say there's a very few percentage of people that actually are ready and willing to go ahead and forgive. And forgiveness is, you have to almost talk the person into the benefits of forgiving in order for them to understand why they should forgive, because most people are not just going to forgive to forgive, because again they feel that holding on to that anger and that rage is, once you let go of that forgiveness, you feel
Mm-hmm.
like you're letting the other person off the hook. Like, oh, if I forgive the ex Jehovah's Witnesses for brainwashing me, I no longer feel like I'm a victim. That means that lets them off the hook. That means they're fine people. They're fine where they are. But you also have to realize that that's not the case. You're freeing a part of yourself. You're liberating yourself. You're giving back your own power. You're not giving the religion or ex person, ex lovers or parents or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be their power. You're giving yourself the power. So if the person is ready to forgive, I say, okay, let's walk through the process of forgiving. And it could include, like I said, really getting down to the very base. Okay, where do you feel this anger, this resentment? Where does it come from? And let's walk through that process. And sometimes it could be very, very baseline, like I said, with the religion. Okay, so I'm really upset that they hurt me, that they brainwashed me, that they upset me. Like, I understand. I was there too, but
Mm.
recognize and know that those people were brainwashed, and also the all the other people around you were brainwashed. I mean, I know that sounds very vague and very easy to like comprehend, but that's how I walked myself through it. And these men were manipulative, yes, but they were also brainwashed and they were under mind control. So now that we are out of the organization, you kind of can look at it in a behind the curtains kind of perspective and
Yeah.
see what people were doing in front of the curtains, and just really realize that they were just a complete, they were like a little puppeteers. So
Mm-hmm.
just recognizing that that is the case and just letting it be. Also, what good is it that you are holding on to this resentment? It's not doing you any good. So when you kind of like walk them through the whole process, and okay, like every time this feeling comes up and you think about them, you have to go back and think about, okay, they were under mind control. I need to release this, and it's a process. So it's not gonna be like one day you're gonna wake up and like, oh no, I forgive them. Even if you are ready to forgive, it's a
Yeah.
process. You have to keep on telling yourself, like, walk yourself through the process. And it can go even, I had a client recently who her father sexually molested her. And I told
Oh.
her too that a lot of times people whose parents molested them or raped them, their parents were sexually molested or raped as children. And they are acting up in a way that they shouldn't be, obviously, but it goes back to the parents being children. So you have to, excuse me, imagine you're a parent as a child. So going to the inner child of your parent and envisioning your inner child playing with their inner child and just really realizing that they were a child once. So you have
Yeah.
to really have empathy for your parent as a child because they were once a child just like you were once a child. And then really resonate, like, if you can pull up a picture of your mom or dad as a child and they were an innocent child at one point, and then look at the person that they are now and see all their life and
Yeah.
recognize that they have lived a very long life just like you have as well, and they have gone through a lot of those things, a lot of things that you're going through right now. So a lot of times we just view our parents as just these people that are raising us, but we don't really go back to their childhood. So it's really understanding and empathizing with our parents as children.
So the forgiveness side of things, when we get to the stage of forgiving, who's really getting the benefit of that?
Oh, we are obviously, absolutely, 100%. And forgiveness has absolutely nothing to do with the person. They can still be a complete asshole
Yep.
and you never want to see them again.
Yeah.
Forgiving has 100% to do with yourself because it really frees you up. It really liberates you, and like I said in the beginning, it allows like this energy flow of new good relationships to come into your life. If you're holding on to things that are just making you angry, it's so bad for even for your health. That can cause ulcers. That can cause tumors. Holding on to any kind of negative energy
Mm.
is
Yep.
so unhealthy for you. So it's 100%, you're really liberating yourself, and it's so freeing. It's like unloading a really heavy backpack after you've been carrying it for years, if not decades, according to how long you've been holding on to this kind of resentment.
Okay, so how would we realize that we've got that problem then? What are some of the signs? You mentioned health problems, but that may not happen initially. What are some of the things that we could be asking ourselves if this is something that we need to do?
So if you feel like you've already forgiven somebody, well, 100%, you usually know if you have forgiven somebody or not. You can
Yeah.
honestly say, like, yes, I have forgiven the person, or no, I haven't. But sometimes you feel like you have forgiven the person, but
Hmm.
like I recently worked with a client who she felt like she forgave her mom for an unhealthy childhood she had, but she was still angry and holding on to certain kind of things as her mom was talking to her,
Okay.
and she realized she
Mm.
hadn't fully forgiven her mom for the kind of childhood that she had. So she wrote her a letter, and she wrote her a really long letter explaining to her and expressing to her, this is, I really appreciated you being my mom, but I feel like I deserved this and this and this. And it was actually a nice letter that she sent out to her mom. And she just really came to a good resolution with her mom. She was able to have a really honest conversation with her mom. So sometimes it's not, you might think that you've forgiven the person, but there's still kind of this I don't even know what to call it. It's just not the pleasant attitude that you're having with the person. But if you can look the person in the eye and if it's a family member or something like that, and
Hmm.
you've
Yeah.
forgiven them, then I
Yep.
feel like the energy is just free flowing and you're allowing that relationship just to go. That doesn't mean that you have to be, best friends with the person that you've forgiven. But if you can see the person, like you don't have any kind of feelings, you can just kind of let it go.
Are
Does that
there
make
any other
sense?
ways to handle that? What I
Besides,
mean by that, you mean before your client wrote a nice long letter,
mm-hmm.
um, and then gave it. Presume she gave it to her mum to get the
Yes,
conversation going.
nailed it. Yep.
Okay. Are there any other things? I've heard that if you write a letter, you can burn it or
Yeah,
just get rid of it.
absolutely. I think it depends on what you feel like the situation is. If it's somebody that you don't feel like talking to anymore, 100%,
Mm.
you can
Yep.
burn it. If it's somebody you feel like you want to have a relationship with, both of my clients that have written letters to their parents wanted to have a better relationship with their parents,
Yep.
and there was still something in the way. So writing a letter was so good. It was so healthy for them. But absolutely, if you don't want a relationship with the person, you can actually burn it. And actually, I told one of my clients if her parent had been deceased, she could at least get the anger and frustration on a piece of paper and burn it at that point, because she hadn't told anybody about these feelings.
Yeah.
So it was just nice for her to have the feelings on a piece of paper. And if she needed to burn it, by all means, go ahead and burn it. Absolutely.
So, what are the sorts of things that you could put in a letter, like you've suggested?
I think it just comes from the heart and it comes naturally. And it depends on what you're forgiving the person for. The person that I mentioned whose father sexually abused her, I had mentioned to her that your father most likely did this to you as a child because he was sexually abused as a
Mm,
child. So I suggested to her to say, I'm so sorry that I forgive you for doing this to me, but I feel like you did this to me because you were also taken advantage of as a child, and I'm so sorry that you were taken advantage of. So I'm forgiving you. So I encourage you to forgive the person that had done this to you because it's going to free you up just as much as it's freeing me up too, because it's something that you no longer need to carry. And I'm freeing you, so you need to continue this chain to forgive the person that has hurt you. And again, like, it doesn't matter if you don't like need them, you're not going to see them in your life. You're liberating yourself now, and you're freeing yourself up from that space that no longer serves you. And again, I think it's something that you don't want to take this to the grave. I think this is something, as you get
yeah.
older, you're still going to really hold on to these kind of feelings, and you're going to be like, gosh. And if your parent dies, you're like, I should have said something to them. And
Mm, yeah.
it's then it's too late. At least say this, when they have like the last years of their life, so then they could feel at peace. Because if they hurt you like that when you were a child, they feel ashamed of it. And if, like, every single person I have worked with, their parents are nicer people and they have tried to have a relationship with their child, so they're attempting to have a better relationship with the kids. I mean, now they're adults, 30s and 40s, are
Yeah.
still holding on to this because they were sexually abused by their parent. But the parent is so ashamed of what they did to their child that they can't say, I'm sorry. And the child can't really confront them about the situation. So it goes to writing a letter is something that's much less invasive than just like looking at the person being like, hey, I know you fucked up, like, let's talk about this right now. Just writing a letter, and then
Mm.
when you do see a parent again, just actually talking to them about it. It's a game changer, and it's so liberating for, like I said, the people that I've worked with. And this is just very recently I've worked with these people.
Okay, so if somebody's sitting here listening and watching and they go, oh, I wish I could do that, and they're really struggling,
Hmm.
is there a simple way to plant a seed to get the momentum going forward? I don't know if that's the right word, but to start the process.
So I think, for my last client, I had to kind of go full circle with her to really give her the benefits of writing the letter, because just writing the letter and forgiving her father wasn't enough. So
Okay.
she was kind of stuck with
Yep.
her
Yep.
business and how it was going. She didn't feel really inspired. She's an entrepreneur. And I told her that by writing this letter, it's going to free up so much energy, because she was having nightmares about it, and all this, like, still, like, she has this very hard demeanor, and she's such
Yeah.
a wonderful human being. And I know that once she wrote the letter and the letter went through and she spoke to her dad, everything would just kind of, like, that resentment would just go. And I told her
Yeah.
full circle that once she's able to do all that, write the letter,
Yep.
she's going to free up so much energy that she's going to excel in her business so much. But the reason why she's stuck and stagnant is because she's still holding on to this resentment, and it's this creativity that's lacking in her life. So I would say, if somebody is like feeling like, okay, I want to forgive, but I'm not really sure I want to, I would say there's so many more things that encompass it than just like freeing up this energy or like liberating yourself. It goes full circle. It could help you out not only in freeing yourself, but it opens you up to new relationship. It could help you with your job. It could bring more money into your life. Like, there's so many levels of forgiveness that it's like this huge backpack that's just, you literally took it off of your like 20 pounds. It's just like liberating yourself. It's so huge. People just really, really need to recognize that forgiveness is, I would say, by far the most important thing as a human being that we can do to move on with our life. People are holding on to resentment and anger in
Yeah.
so many different ways, and it's so unhealthy.
Why do we do that? I know you mentioned before that it's sometimes easy to sit in that victim mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we tend to do that? Because you're right, before you mentioned it's a human problem. We all, as humans, we do this regardless of what
Because
the situation is.
we feel we have a right to. We feel we have a right to not forgive the person or the group of people because they have wronged us, they have hurt us, they have abused us, and we feel we have the right to do that. I have the right to not forgive the Jehovah's Witnesses because they fucked my childhood. They took away. I didn't celebrate birthdays. I didn't celebrate Christmas. Like, sure, that happened to me too. But again, like, what good is it doing for you if you're holding on
Mm,
to that? Like, it's just it's not serving you. And sure, like as maybe as you were leaving, you were holding on to this anger, but 10 years later, it's just not. I am so glad that you're able to let go of Facebook
yeah.
user. I don't know what your name is. That makes me so happy. It's so essential and it's so important to let go of that anger. It does not serve you at all.
Yeah, it's just when you were talking about that, I remember one article. No, I don't like to focus on the J Dub stuff, but they were talking about forgiveness, and you don't need to forgive if somebody's done something really bad. And what you've just telling us now is totally the opposite.
100%. I mean, it's essential to moving on with life. And in the Jehovah's Witnesses community, we were never taught how to move forward. We were never
Yeah,
taught how to believe in ourselves. We were never taught self-confidence. We were never taught security in who we are. We were never taught to like be the best versions of ourselves. Everything was about Jehovah. Jehovah,
yep,
our partners, and our family was second. We were like number three. So
yeah,
forget about it. Like you don't even know who you are as a person. And
yeah,
to have like it's really sad, but people don't know who they are until maybe years after they leave the organization. And it's totally fine. I think you also have to recognize that it again takes time. Everything that's really important in life takes time. Forgiveness does not happen overnight. It takes time. And it's a constant too. Like the moment you feel like you're snapping or
yep,
acting a certain way towards someone or like a group of people, like I said, go back and like think to yourself, like, okay, why am I acting this way? Have I really forgiven the person or like I said, the community? And in the ex-Jehovah's Witness world, there's so much negativity that comes up. Like I avoid it to the most part. So
yes,
I'm just here, just like being hopefully like this ray of light to show people that there is light at the end of the tunnel if you choose to take this path. But most people, like I said, prefer to play the victim for the rest of their life because it's easy, because they feel validated about it, and
yeah,
it's fine. It's fine. You know, forgiveness is for everyone, but it's a choice. It's a choice. At the end of the day, it's a choice.
yeah.
So if you go ahead,
No, no, Karen.
I was just saying if somebody chooses to forgive,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
lot easier than they think. But
All
it's
right.
a choice. It's a choice,
Yeah, I
hundred
was just going
percent.
to say that the choice, um, we all have those choices. We had the choice to
Absolutely.
stay in the J Dubs. We had the choice to get out. Um, what happens if we're stuck and we go, oh, but, and then we go the other side and we go, oh, but I'm out of here, but, and we're saying, but.
So that to me means you're not ready to forgive. And again, that is okay. That is okay. There comes a point where you're like, I'm ready. I'm ready to move on and I'm ready to forgive.
Yeah,
And you
yeah,
have to recognize that. Don't if you force something, if you force anything in your life, whether it's forgiveness or losing weight, like literally anything, it's just not going to happen. it could happen. Like you could lose the weight, you can go on a quick little diet and lose the weight, but it'll come back. It's about constantly doing it day after day. It's the repetitiveness of just doing it constantly, and eventually, it becomes a habit. Once the negative thoughts come up, you're like, nope, I'm forgiving the person. I've moved on. It's just like I said, with eating
Mm.
healthy and stuff like that. It's a habit. It becomes like once the thought comes up, nope, it's no longer bothering me anymore. I've forgiven and I've released it. It literally like flushes through you like, uh, I don't know, like you're drinking water. It just like the emotion just comes through you. It no longer serves you, so it no longer does anything to you. And for me, when I see people holding on to any kind of anger or
Yep.
resentment, it's like holding on to a dirty washcloth that's rotting in your gut. It,
Yeah.
it's it's disgusting. And I've met such amazing human beings that have such good energy, but right when it comes to a certain topic, they turn sour. And it's like, wait a second, like, can
Yeah.
we just get like what's going on? So,
Yeah.
it's forgiveness is like all around it. Every part of your life, you have to be able to forgive. Like every single person that has ever hurt you in your life, you
Yeah.
have to forgive them. But you
Yeah.
also, I think, have to remember that you have to forgive yourself. So let's say you've been holding on to resentment for a parent or for somebody for decades. Like they hurt you, you've been wronged, and you're like, I'm ready to forgive. But fuck, I've been holding on to this resentment for like 40 years. I feel
Hmm.
so bad. I've hurt this person even more than they've hurt me at this point. So forgiving yourself because you weren't ready to forgive. Forgiving yourself to allow yourself to move on as well. You have to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself also for, let's say you felt like you lived a really crazy life for a couple of years. You did some horrible things yourself. And you're like, I hate myself. What I just spent the last decade like doing all these stupid things. I think you also have to recognize that forgiving yourself is also very, very important, because when you forgive yourself, that's when you can also forgive other people. So forgiving yourself also for, let's say you decided to become a Jehovah's Witness and then you got disfellowshipped after a couple of years, like, gosh, I can't believe I played victim to becoming a Jehovah's Witness and I allowed them to brainwash me. I'm so stupid.
Hmm.
Forgive yourself. Like holding on to that is not doing anything for you. Just that part of your life is done and over, and recognize you needed that to be who you are today. So
Yeah.
forgiving yourself for that part of your life, because just be like, you know what, it's done and over with, because you cannot change that part of your life, and just recognize that this is who you are today and just appreciate who you are today.
So, is there a simple process to do that? Is it, or is it different in everybody? Like a lot of things are different.
No, again, I think it's a matter of one, wanting to forgive,
One thing. Yep.
wanting, and I think, first is recognizing that I have not forgiven myself or I have not forgiven somebody else. Two comes wanting to forgive, because wanting to forgive and acknowledging.
She's run away. Hopefully, she'll be back. She's not coming back at the moment, folks. We'll see what happens, because that was certainly an interesting point that Vivian was talking about, forgiving ourselves, something essential that needs to happen. And she's still hiding from us. I'm not sure what's happened here. She's gone. She might come back. And as soon as she does, we'll get back on to talk about that forgiving of ourselves. There's some good points that have been made with regards to forgiveness and the things that very interesting, really. you hear quite often, or you may have seen in some of the groups where different ones are quite upset, and some of the points that Vivian has talked about, it could become very useful. So if you know somebody who has had this going on for, whether it be months, years, or decades, share it with them, because like she says, holding on to things, it ain't much fun, and it will get to us. Well, I'm not sure what's actually happened with Vivian. um, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to start singing anyway. Then I'd really need to ask for forgiveness. We can't have that. I'll just check and see what is happening in Facebook, if she sent me a message or not. And we'll find out what the story is. No messages yet. We might have to come back and hopefully we'll start again. Hopefully she's okay. Yeah, we'll come back if we manage to find her, and we'll restart. I do apologize. Technology does have a problem sometimes. And until then, we hope you have a nice day wherever you may be, and we'll catch you again soon. For now, look after yourselves and bye.